Good morning, and thank you so much for joining. I'd like to just begin by acknowledging we're gathered on traditional Treaty 6 territory and recognize the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. I'm Alberta NDP House Leader Christina Gray, and I'm joined by my colleague, Opposition Rural Economic Development Critic Heather Sweet. We're here today on behalf of Albertans, their retirement security, and specifically to give them a voice on protecting the Canada Pension Plan. Last night's telephone town hall was the final one announced by the UCP during their ongoing propaganda campaign to convince Albertans to give them permission to gamble away their CPP. As of right now, this looks like that was the final opportunity for Albertans to provide feedback to the government, and that is shameful. These telephone town halls have been pre-screened. Only a handful of callers have gotten through on each one of them, and some of the people lucky enough to get through on the line and ask their questions were even yelled at by Jim Dinning, the government's appointed head of this project to gamble away Albertans' pensions. And the feedback from Albertans on the phone hasn't exactly been positive either. As one caller named Doug from Fort McMurray put it, "I'm not going to mince words. I wholly disagree with this." Deb from Calgary said what so many Albertans are thinking when it comes to the CPP, quote, "I'm in favor of staying with the Canada Pension Plan because it works, because it's consistent, because it's reliable, because it's already built. And what we're going to do is try and build a duplicate administration with all of the associated costs, and we're going to pay for it 100% ourselves." Peter from Parkland County also hit the nail on the head, asking, why would Alberta persist in separating from a stable pension plan and form a very questionable pension plan? Finally, JP from Bragg Creek made it clear he sees right through this government's propaganda campaign masquerading as public consultation, stating, quote, "I'm very concerned that the full process seems to be an outcome in search of legitimization." I could go on, but the message the few Albertans able to engage on this matter with the government have sent has been very clear. Now the government today will likely say that there's still a survey up online about pensions, but it fails to even ask the question, do you want to leave the Canada Pension Plan in the first place? And there's discussion of an incoming pension workbook for Albertans, whatever that means. But there has been no further mention of in-person public engagement since Mr. Dinning first committed to that on October 16th, more than a month ago. As far as we can tell, this government is too scared to even meet with Albertans face to face. Look them in their eyes and tell them why they would ruin their retirement security. We're here today to demand that this government follow through on their own commitment and host these in-person sessions across the province immediately. Listen to the voices of Albertans, understand what they are trying to commit on the path to withdrawing this horrible, disastrous plot to gamble away the CPP. Thank you, and I'd now like to turn things over to Heather.
Well, thank you, Christina. And I must say, it's been such an honor to work with you during so many years, and you've done so much to advocate for Alberta pensions and specifically to protect the CPP. And you're so right that Albertans are overwhelmingly opposed to leaving the CPP. Still, the UCP just isn't listening. But we are. Last week, I was proud to host a town hall in my constituency of Edmonton Manning with several other members of our caucus and our leader, Rachel Notley. Nearly 500 people attended. They were engaged. They had incredible insight and feedback, and their voices were united. At one point, we asked for a show of hands of how many attendants wanted to remain in the CPP. All but one person in the back of the Kingsway Legion shot their hand in the air. If that's not a clear indication that the UCP government is way off track of the priorities of Albertans, then I don't know what is. And there's more. We've had a survey up on www.albertafuture.ca for weeks that actually asks Albertans if they support leaving the CPP. To date, more than 37,000 respondents have taken it up, and actually 90.2% say they want the UCP to keep its hands off the UCP. or off the CPP. Just 8.5% say they would support the move. Even Jim Dinning, the very head of the UCP plot to gamble the CPP, admitted during a telephone town hall last week that he has no complaints with the CPP, and there were potential risks with moving to an Alberta pension plan. You really can't make this stuff up. The Alberta NDP is far from being done engaging on this either. We have announced another 5 in-town town halls between now and Christmas, including another one in Edmonton and others in Calgary. We're going to go to Red Deer, St. Albert, and I'll also be pleased to attend and co-host another town hall in Ardrossan. We have more town halls being planned in the new year as well, and I expect Albertans attending those will hear the same feedback. As Patrick from St. Albert told Mr. Dinning and those in attendance at a recent telephone town hall, that when it comes to the CPP, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Christina and I are here today again to demand that the UCP either hold in-person town halls so they can hear from Albertans directly, who overwhelmingly oppose leaving the pension, or they announce today that they will put a stop to gambling away Alberta's retirement security. And thank you, and we'll be happy to take questions.
We'll now turn it over to questions. For those joining by Zoom or by phone, it's the raise hand function or star 9. We'll start with questions in the room.
Hi, Catherine Gurkowski, Alberta Today. So you mentioned that the telephone town hall, it's hand-picked callers, and yet you list a bunch of people who are not in favor of this. What would you get from a government-run in-person town hall that you wouldn't get on the phone?
You were at one, please.
So I think, even as of last night, what we heard from Jim Dinning was that they heard from an overwhelming amount of 25 people that actually were able to respond on the town hall. When you're in person, you don't get the choice to choose the questions or the answers. You actually just have to respond and listen to what people are saying at town halls. The consultation that they will be having, overwhelmingly they will hear Albertans don't want to leave the CPP. But they'll have to do it face to face, and they'll have to give honest and true answers, and they'll have to listen. On town halls, on the phone, they can shut off the questions or vet out the questions. And again, as of last night, the most they've heard from overwhelmingly that was being celebrated on that phone call was an overwhelming 25 people.
And the Alberta Federation of Labour seems to be going even further than you. They're saying this is propaganda and Jim Dinning and the entire panel should be fired. Why do you think this consultation is salvageable by having in-person consultations?
Well, honestly, the Alberta Federation of Labour is not wrong, because right now we've got the sham consultation that started with a survey that didn't even ask the question, telephone town halls that allowed them to really limit the number of voices they were hearing from. Jim Dinning on October 16th made a commitment to hold in-person consultations. This government has been saying that they will engage with Albertans, and we are trying to hold them accountable to the commitments they have made. That being said, this whole process and what they've engaged in is causing fear and uncertainty among Albertans, and it is not supported by the majority of Alberta families. So they should put away their plans to gamble with the CPP. They should stop spending $8 million on a propaganda campaign on numbers that they know are not true, and we should be able to move this government off this. Hearing more of those voices in person is, I hope, a step along them backing off this terrible plan.
Great, we'll go to questions on the line. Dean, you should be able to unmute.
That's asking a question, but let me come at it from another way then. So what do you think about the panel overall and its mandate? And by that I mean they were tasked with sort of informing the debate, but using the LifeWorks report, kind of being, pushing the report at the same time trying to be the referee or the messenger, the agnostic messenger. Was this panel put in a tough spot to begin with?
Certainly, I think that the way the government has structured what they've been doing, the mandate of the panel, the way they've constructed the survey, has really been pushing towards an outcome that they are interested in rather than an exercise of genuine consultation and assessment for this idea. Likely, because this is an idea that has been fully vetted and dismissed by Conservative governments in the past, likely because they understand that the economics of this will not play out in our favor, and likely because they know that Albertans are not supportive of this plan and idea. We have been talking about Albertans' desire to stay in the Canada Pension Plan since the Kenney governments first started floating these ideas when I introduced my private members bill in February of 2020. So we have now years of evidence of Albertans' opposition to this. So when you ask about the formulation of the panel and the mandate they were given, I think you are entirely correct that it has not been a well-done engagement with Alberta families.
Do you have a follow-up, Dean?
Yeah, and let me think here. So just further to Kat's point, though, so I want to summarize. You're saying that they don't want to look Albertans in the eye. So the question is, why don't they want to look Albertans in the eye? It sounded like from your answer to Kat that they can't game the outcome. Is that what you're saying? Is that why they don't want to have this an in-person? It's too much out of their control, or is there something else? Or am I misreading what you're saying?
Well, I think, you know, Dean, the issue here is that the government doesn't actually know what the true facts are. They're using different numbers every week and trying to convince Albertans that this is a good plan. That's really hard to do in person. It's easy to, you know, filter out questions when you don't have the answers. So that's what you do when you do a telephone town hall. You filter out the questions. When you're in person, you have to have true, honest facts, and you have to be willing to listen to the people in the room. And this government has clearly said that they're not willing to do that.
Perfect. We'll do one more pass for questions.
So there is this bill in the legislature, the Alberta Pension Protection Act. I'm wondering if you heard any feedback on that bill, if people are feeling a little bit more reassured, or if they have questions or anything like that, or if it's pretty much still like, no, we don't want this.
I can honestly say I've received no positive feedback about Bill 2 that I have seen or heard from my constituents. Bill 2 hasn't received very much debate time in the legislature yet. I think we're just maybe a couple initial hours in. And certainly I'm looking forward to hearing the government's defense of Bill 2 and this plan that they've put forward, given the vast amount of negative feedback that we are collecting through Alberta's Future.ca, that we are seeing on the telephone town halls, and that we're hearing from Albertans across the province, with other groups as well, who are galvanized on this issue. So many seniors are concerned, and they're coming out to town halls, they're coming out to share their concerns, they're emailing their MLAs. My inbox, I know Heather Sweet's inbox, have been inundated. All MLAs are hearing on this issue.
Perfect. Seeing no more questions, that concludes today's press conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.